Welcome, welcome, welcome to the live spiritual discussion today. Should have a lot of fun. Get going in just a minute. All right, getting going. So, welcome to a live discussion about spirituality. And feel free to, let me throw in the Google Hangouts link to the chat. You can feel free to join that. I'll actually add it to the description of the video as well. If you have questions, feel free to hop right in. You'll be live with me. This is a discussion as much as it is anything else. Let's see here. Chat, perfect. Actually, you'll be able to find it right away. Let's see, in the basic info for this stream. Let's see, it should be underneath. All right, so I put the Hangouts in the chat too, just in case. You know what? Let's take another minute and let people show up, and I'll play my little music that I wrote again, and I'll be right back. Okay. Thanks for bearing with me, everybody. Get going in a second. I think this is going to be a nice opportunity for us all to share and to learn from each other. This is a spiritual discussion, but it's also a motivational discussion. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a while, and I hope that other people find it to be as helpful as I can find it to be. Spirituality is one of those things where we realize that the true source of happiness and power is indeed within us, and that none of us are separate from God. And we really are here to discuss what it is that you would like to discuss, as well as get into some spirituality and channeling and some deep meditation, if that's where the discussion goes. So as soon as we get a couple people in here, I will fade out the music and we will get going. Feel free to hop right in the Google Hangouts. Be nice to have you in there, and also feel free to post questions in the live chat if you'd rather do that. I think we'll probably get going in just a couple of minutes. Alright, just about 1 minute to go. So we're going to have a discussion today about spirituality and about anxiety and about a bunch of things that a lot of people struggle with. I've certainly come from a place in my life where things looked dark at one point or another, and I've sort of been catapulted into a new level of existence based on some spiritual discoveries that I had. And I think that part of my struggle, has definitely given me the tools that I needed to begin to progress along a spiritual path. And it's my goal that, my hope that I can help other people along the journey, just at whatever level that they are at, whether we go into deep spiritual conversation or if we just discuss, common problems that people have. All right, so we'll get going in just a second. Just posting the link in one more spot so we can get as many people as possible to join in the discussion, and that'll make for a better discussion overall. Appreciate your patience for those of you that are here. I think we're really going to get into some exciting stuff today. We'll be able to, do some spiritual digging and some spiritual growth. And I think it's going to really help us, help all of us. For those of you who've been patient with me, I appreciate it. Regardless of what happens, I am going to start talking within about a minute, and we'll let the law of attraction work for us, and some people will show up, because they will, and we know it. Wait and see. And if you're sick of this song, I totally get it. I'm getting a little sick of it myself. So it's time to fade it out. All right. So hi everybody, my name is David, and it's my honor and privilege to be leading a spiritual discussion tonight, and to have all of you join me today. I think we can really have, this is an opportunity on a Sunday night to get into some spiritual topics. We could talk about anxiety, we can talk about depression, but I'd also like to maybe get into some more spiritual things like channeling and meditation, and also invite some people to share live what they're experiencing and what they're going through. The spirituality is one of those things that I think we all have access to, and even if you don't believe in God, it is something I do believe in God because of my experiences in life, not because of a sort of a theoretical understanding, which is what I was given as a kid. But I can tell you that my views over the last several years have radically changed by a series of awesome things that have happened in my life, and also just some new abilities that I've been able to discover around channeling and around meditation, and just some really interesting things have happened to me recently. So I decided to sort of go right through the fear and come online and start to talk, and maybe I can help somebody along the way. But regardless, if I'm helping anybody else, I'm certainly helping myself, which will help other people too, because a rising tide raises all boats, as they say. Now, you could feel free to join in the Hangouts. Feel free to put something in the chat if you'd like to. We're going to dive in now to some spiritual topics. And why don't I bring one up, since there's nobody else here yet except for one person. And whoever you are, thank you for being here. You're here at the beginning, which is good. So let's talk about what it means to be here now. And let me go into some channeling real quick, because we have the opportunity to do that. And also, I said real quick, apparently, channeling, part of the goal of it is to reach into the eternal for a second at least, and into the holy instant, as the Course in Miracles would call it. So what we'll do is we'll take this very instant now and think of it as all there is of time. Nothing can reach us here out of the past, and it is here in this moment that we are completely absolved, completely free, and wholly without condemnation. God, help me to take this moment now, this instant, and think of it as all there is of time. I know that in this moment I am completely absolved, completely free, and wholly without condemnation. And it is from this moment, this instant, wherein holiness is born again, that we shall walk forward together as free men and women who are listening to this channel. Now, as I enter a state of channeling, I ask and I invite you to join me in just a second, where we invite a spirit or universe or whatever force you believe in, call it God, call it Allah, call it Buddha, into the room with us, into the shared space that we call consciousness. And let's all meet there. Let's not meet in faraway places where your body is and where my body is. Let's all meet right now in the shared space that lies between us all for a spiritual meeting. Because with spirituality, there are no limits. There is no body. It is only mind and creativity and oneness and love. And this mind, creativity, oneness, and love are the things that we're going to be talking about today in an effort to increase our knowledge and our understanding so that we can live happier lives and help more people and be more productive and get over some of the things that hold so many people back and some of the things that I've struggled with certainly in the past. Now, I do believe that some people will show up soon. It has to do with the law of attraction, right? And even if they don't, whoever the one person is that's watching now, that is enough. For God is one, and there only is oneness. And that is all there is. I do believe that we'll be joined soon by some people who are looking for help, who are looking for guidance, who maybe are struggling with certain things. That's my job. That's my goal, to help them. Whether it's one person or 100 or 1,000, that's my job to help. And really, that's my sole concern, is to, be of service to other people. It's great to be currently live and talking about spirituality and anxiety and depression. I'm here to, as a spiritual person and as a channel, I should say that my ability to channel is developing. I'm still learning how to hear. It's not an ability that is unique to me or to other people. I don't believe that any of the spiritual teachers go around and say, I am the most spiritual teacher in the world, therefore you should follow me. I think what usually happens is the people just start to listen to them and put them on the pedestal, which is sort of the hardest thing for a spiritual teacher to fight against, isn't it? Although a spiritual teacher wouldn't fight against anything. But I would ask that please don't put me on a pedestal. Please don't put anyone on a pedestal. because as soon as you do, you have to get pedestals for everybody in the world, because if you put one person above another person, then everybody's on a ranking system. There's no escaping it. And to have to get 7 billion pedestals together would be a mighty task for anyone, even if you were a pedestal maker. I certainly am not a pedestal maker, a maker of pedestals, if you will. This is one of those things that I really love to do, is to have the opportunity to talk with people and to spend time with people, to show people, what love has done for me, and help them to solve problems in their own lives. When people struggle, it affects me. We can certainly talk about the shared struggle that we all go through sometimes, and things that we all, struggle with as people. I'm just keeping an eye on the stream as well, just to make sure everything's good from the technical perspective. The technology that we have today to communicate like this is really, really remarkable. With live video chat and live discussions, we can really get into some things that, connect in a way that wouldn't have been possible, even 5-10 years ago. With this type of video streaming technology that we have. Anyways, you can tell in my ordinary life, I am a dork. In my extraordinary life, I am a spiritual being like everyone else, and we're all equal in that plane of existence. I would love for people to have the opportunity to receive channeled guidance like I've been able to receive, and to give it as well. There have been times when I have actually gone, for instance, and spent time with friends, and what we do is we sit together and, lay out a problem in one of our lives, and then let the other person respond to it, and then we get guidance from that person. And it's a good way to get sort of live feedback. Spirituality and channeling are not gifts that are given to a select few people, although I am grateful to have that ability. I believe that it's an ability that is developed, and anyone is able to develop that ability. A lot of the times we just spend a lot of energy denying our own spirituality and our own divinity, and that time is better spent exploring our minds and exploring that part of ourselves that is connected to God and our highest self. Because the wisdom that we get from within is true wisdom. It's just sometimes a matter of learning how to tell the difference between the voice of God and the voice of the ego. And anyone who says that each person does not have direct access to God is denying the ultimate truth that God is everywhere. God is all things. God is us. We are all, I heard, drops of God in a sea of God. And that is really something that I've hung on to, and certainly is good. So if we take a problem, if somebody has a suggestion or a problem they'd like to throw out there, or join the Google Hangouts live on air, and they can join me either with video or just audio to discuss something that's going on in their lives, we can certainly address whatever's going on. I think that this discussion is going to actually be a lot of fun. I'm just changing the title a little bit in Google Hangouts. There's a way to do that, hopefully, to let people know that we can talk about more than just, well, we're going to take a spiritual approach to everything that we talk about, because everything comes from spirit. And what's great about spirit is that we're able to dive into some problems that are, unreachable by ordinary means. However, I will not say that, or I will say that this is not going to be medical advice, and certainly I don't want to take a stance against any sort of established medical practice, because I believe that we have to treat the perceived illnesses that we have, whether they be true or not from a spiritual sense, on the level that we perceive them. So if I break my arm on the physical level, I should probably seek a solution on that same level, and it will heal. Especially as I'm learning how to heal, as we're all learning how to grow together. It would be unwise for us not to seek medical treatment if something happened. Unfortunately, it's not going to and hasn't. So just a sort of a disclaimer about that. I don't take a position on really... I don't take positions against things, because to do that would be to judge them. And to take positions against things means that I'm taking positions for other things. And a world with judgment is not a world, is the world that we see, is a world of judgment, and a world of beginnings and endings, and not a world of love, which is where we should all endeavor to be living. I'm just waiting for a few people to show up before I dive into some real channeling. But you know what? Let's just do it now, because I feel like I've sounded a little bit like I'm speaking from the ego a little bit so far. And so maybe this is exactly where, of course it is exactly what we're supposed to have happening right now. So let's just go into some spirituality and meditate a little bit and see what comes out. God, I am the way you choose to find us. I am the space in which your light shines upon the world. I am the voice inside you that tells you you are loved, that tells you I am the way, the truth, and the life. It is not your mind, the place where you hear your own wishes and desires that clamor loudly and drown out, or seek to drown out, the world's gifts and lavishes and the trinkets that you value. Is not my voice the voice that guides you away from these things and into yourself and into the place in your mind that is the altar unto God? God allows all of us. God allows you to see the way in which you wish to proceed, yet guides you gently along the path you have chosen for yourself and others. For all of this is happening for your highest good. And your desire to help others is rooted in your desire to be helped by me. I am here to provide you with the guidance you seek, and I am here to tell you that what you wish to hear is not necessarily what is available to you in the moment in which you seek it. Channeling. I am the God of your understanding, yet not the being and the form and the oneness. You must allow your mind to transcend the perception of time and to transcend the perception of limitation or lack, and to enter a higher state of being, and to enter the oneness of this instant. For this instant is all that there is, and you need only focus on my voice to hear the guidance you wish to communicate through you unto others. And yet this spiritual session is not about you. You have asked to be a channel. It is that which you will become, and you may not recall anything that happens during this conversation, but it is your lack of attachment to the words that allows them to ring truly through you, and your self-forgetting that allows my words to flow through your mind and out of your body, and into the world you think you see. I'm glad for this time that we spend together, because it allows us to communicate more freely with each other and to love, to practice loving each other, and to practice listening. For listening is the way in which we find the peace in our lives and the peace in others' lives. And it's not up to you to decide what to listen to and what to forget. For the guidance you hear from others may not be the guidance that they receive themselves in quiet. It takes humility to communicate inner wisdom and inner strength and dialogue in the language that others can understand without judgment, without fear, without ego, trying to determine or trying to convince you that you are nothing, that you are lack, that you are not worthy of the love that you wish to give to others. But it must be obvious to you at this point that love is what given to others is what returns to you. So it is through this channel that love flows freely through you and into the world. And it is through this channel that love from the world flows freely back into you. Invite the people who listen to this and who listen to this voice to enter a place in their minds, to close their eyes and to sit quietly and to meet with you. I invite you all now to meet with me in the sacred space of spirit. All you need to do is close your eyes and allow. Close your eyes and say with me, there is no way to find spirit, for I am spirit. There is no way for the fish to find the water. There is no way for the sun to find the rays of light. I am the light in the darkness that you see. Do not doubt my form, for I would not appear as a body to you in separation, while it is union and unity that you seek. To introduce more separation into a world would be impossible for a God who is all things and who has all knowledge. Seek to look through the world you see into heaven, for it is in heaven where you truly live. You are truly now with other spirits that you seek, all in God, all connected, not without. You now have the ability to communicate with the other spirits in the world. And it is only by your desire to join with them that they are able to communicate through you. The faulty prophet. I hear your thoughts. The hour of your awakening is soon at hand. I can feel your light and your spirit within me. I can sense the oneness and the majesty of your presence. You enter my life. I allow you into my being without opposition. I retreat back into my being without opposition. And I allow the voice of God and the light of God to take the place of my consciousness and to take the place of my life, that I may help others. The oneness in God. We are all alone in the ego, abandoned, bereft of love, afraid, in darkness. Each person on earth believes they are but one voice in a sea of voices. Yet there is no sea, and they have no voice other than the voice that speaks for them and to them, unto God and unto the world. Your perception of the world is what makes it what it is. Your projection of your own beliefs onto it are the clothes it wears and the forms that it projects back unto you. The world is but a mirror unto your mind and of your beliefs. Reflected back to yourself, your mind perceives them as separate from itself, therefore establishing a separation between you and the world you see. That is the illusion which you seek to escape from. There is no escape through the illusion from the illusion. You see but a reflection of yourself in every person you meet, in everyone you meet, in everyone you hear from. I am but a voice in your head. And I ask you, who are now joining this discussion, as I step back for a second, to meet with me in the spiritual space. And if you have questions, to ask them in the chat, because we can really meet there, and I'm happy to receive guidance in whatever way I can and communicate that back into the world. Even if there are questions about anxiety or depression or just living well or anything that's really what you're struggling with. There's one voice. Let's all meet in that place right now. So close your eyes and join me there. See the light through the darkness that you think is there when you close your eyes. You may even wish to turn out the light in the room you're in so that you can see the light that's there when the physical light is gone. And there is light there. There is only light in the universe. The darkness and the shadows are all shadows of ego. We all live in heaven, although most of us have forgotten that. We all live in heaven all the time. The perceptions of fear that we have, that we carry with us and wear as burdens and wear as shackles, are just perceptions. Yet we become so sick that we become entirely unable to escape from their burden, and that creates spiritual sickness. Fear is spiritual sickness, and so is guilt, and so is shame. I can sense fear of not having enough. Financial fear is clearly a very common worry in the world, and something that someone here is struggling with. And the question of the ego is constantly, but what would happen if I stopped worrying about how my bill is going to be paid in a few weeks? Would the bill get paid or not? What would happen? Probably nothing. I think that I'll go back into channeling mode because I was getting somewhere there before, and channeling is kind of the way that I can practice, and really, this is practice for me too, as a channeler. To channel into the world on a live stream introduces just to me a number of additional fears that may not have been there when I do it alone. And the channeling guidance that I receive here I almost feel a need to make it more fluid so that more people can understand it. However, the people that do channel professionally are often more practiced than I am. So this is a necessary learning tool. I use this as a learning device for myself and hopefully for others too. It's one of those things where the guidance that I can receive and to communicate will be universally applicable to myself and to others. Truth is always universally applicable. Fear is not. Truth leaves no one behind. I was doing some reflecting earlier today. I drew a little picture called the two directions. And there are two directions. There's within and without. Within is with God. Without is without God. So if I look without, I'm looking without God. The body's senses are built to look without. They look into the ego. And the body's senses see two different things. That they see, well, they obviously see separation, but they see spiritual and they see non-spiritual. And they make judgments between spiritual and non-spiritual. This person is a spiritual person. This person is not a spiritual person. And the body's senses are keen and they are attuned to perception. And as I say that, I guess that the body's senses do not actually see. The body's senses see the evidence that the mind interprets as spiritual or not spiritual within the world of without. The world of ego, the world of without God, is the world in which the ego attempts to convince you that you are not divine, and it attempts to convince you what you should think. It attempts to convince you that it is the thinker of your thoughts and that you are but a pawn in its existence, and it's not true. You are the thinker of your own thoughts and the perceiver of your own perceptions and the believer of your own beliefs, not the mind. Not the ego without. So the body sees senses, and the body is built to perceive lack, to perceive space. And there is a difference between space and lack, I believe, but the body is designed to find, to seek out, and to see what I do not have and what is separate from me. And it views spirituality and non-spirituality as means to an end. And the end that the body wants are your desires and your lacks. The body wants death. The ego is looking for death because it believes that death is happiness and that death is a door unto happiness. That is false. Death is an illusion. The body seeks out idols. It thinks that if I am more spiritual, if I am less spiritual, if I am more spiritual, meaning this is the trap of the ego too. There are many ego traps, but one of which is if I am more spiritual, then I will get what I want on the outside. So if I behave more spiritually, then the body is going to have more things. So if I'm more spiritual, then I will get more in the world of the ego. But the spirit doesn't work in the world of the ego. For how could it? Yet it does work in your mind. And your mind, being the perceiver of the world of the ego, is what needs to change, not the world. It is your way of perceiving the world and the way of thinking about the world that actually needs to change. There's really no other way to say it other than the world you see is an illusion and a projection of yourself, and the people that you meet are you. When Jesus said to love your neighbor as yourself, I believe that he meant that more literally than most people take it. Your neighbor's needs are your needs literally. Your neighbor is yourself literally. You are everyone you meet. And that can be scary at first because you go around and you think all these people are separate from you, and then you realize they're not. They are all you. And how can you abandon yourself? You want to treat yourself that way. And so what happens is it becomes this almost overwhelming sense of responsibility, and then the ego comes in with guilt and, how have I neglected myself for all this time? And that is not the solution. The solution is only being present. The solution is living in the moment for it's only in the moment that we can be happy. Now, when people join this discussion and they join this chat, I like to at least talk a little bit about, who I am, and maybe we'll do a little bit of a spiritual reading, but let's talk about some points of truth, some real truth. The truth is that, and people don't say this, it's actually, there are very few people who will actually tell you this. I bet a lot of people say that. That's actually not a very spiritual thing to say. But the truth is that you have all power. The world's existence is to continue to try to convince you that you don't. The world exists to convince you that you do not have all power. Where spirit finds opposition is but in ego, for spirit opposes nothing and is therefore unopposed. The ego is where the body's senses attempt to tell you what to think. And where the ego finds conflict is ego. Where you find conflict must be ego. For spirit knows no conflict. A spirit knows nothing but love and light. A spirit knows nothing but joy. And as a spirit, so are you. Forget that not. Let's take a quick little break, and we'll be back soon, for sure. be back in just a minute. And thanks for joining us. We're going to get into some spirituality in just a minute. And feel free to post questions that you have in the chat. We'll get to them. Some good discussions in the first half of the show, certainly about spirituality and channeling. Got into some channeling. Talked about some truths. Alrighty, I'm going to dive back in about 30 seconds. Feel free to hop in the Hangouts or post questions in the chat. Just glad you're here. Alright, welcome. So let's dive in. This hangout is really about helping, and it's really about spirituality and also depression and anxiety and ways that we can get over that. And I've been depressed in my lifetime. I know what it's like and how dark it can be. And if there's anything I can do to help, and there are things I can do to help, I want to. And please feel free to hop in the Google Hangouts chat, which is in the live chat, if you'd like to join. If you'd like to share your story with us. If you just like to listen, that's totally fine too. Spirituality, if you don't believe in God, that's totally okay. Spirituality is about finding peace and love within yourself, and not worrying about finding it on the outside, which is really why a lot of people get depressed. And why we think a lot of depressing thoughts is that we look outside for what we can't find out there, which is love and acceptance. And we have to find that within ourselves, because it's there. It really is. And a lot of people find that through God. People find that through, you don't have to call it God though. You call it Allah or Buddha or something else that's personal to you. There is a universal oneness though that is love, and you are not separate from that love. And whether you think you are or not, or whether you think you are worth love or not, you are. There is no debate about your worthiness to receive love and to give love, and your worthiness to be happy, and how you deserve to, feel joy in your life and happiness, and not depression. And there are two directions that we look, and we were just talking a little bit about this before the break. Talking about one of the two directions that we can look, and it's without and within. And we can look without, which is outside of ourselves, without God, or we can look within, which is with God. So let me just get into a little bit of a channel right here, spirituality, talk about that, and if you have questions, please feel free to post them in the live chat. This is something where I certainly have been a student of spirituality throughout my life. I've certainly been a fan of many of the spiritual teachers that are out there, and someone who follows them. I actually moved to Maui at one point to be closer to some spiritual teachers that I was very much sort of in love with, in a platonic sense, but really in sort of the real love sense, because of what they had done for me, what spirituality had done for me. And what spirituality has done for me is to, give me an amazing life that is beyond anything that I thought was possible for me. Now, it would be, I look forward to the opportunity to help some people live, or to at least talk with them live, and to give them some feedback or guidance on whatever it is that they're struggling with, because there are solutions. There is help out there. There is love out there. And a lot of the times it just takes the bravery to come out and say, hey, I need help. Hey, I want to feel better. Hey, I don't want to feel this way anymore. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, as they say. And you can feel better, and I can help with that. And it's not because I'm a specialist, just because I believe that you are not sick, and you're not tired, and you're not depressed. And through my belief, your belief will also change. And that's how healing works, too. Maybe we'll get into some of that as well. So I was wondering where to post this to get some people to maybe join in, and maybe we get into some stuff. Reading material. So Reddit is really a wonderful place to get into stuff like this, and to get into motivational talk or self-improvement. And perhaps I will post this chat in a couple of those places. Maybe in the Deciding to Be Better subreddit. Looks interesting to me. The funny thing is that you need not decide to be better, because you already are full of love and all things, and you need not decide to be better to be loved. That's for sure. And you are good enough exactly the way you are. And, I look at some of these. You know what? Let's look at depression. Let's look at the depression subreddit. Let's figure out why my posts, unfortunately, do not show up there. But that is the will of my higher power. All right, so let's step back from this hangout for a second and see if we can talk a little bit about depression. And you know what I can do is I can just go through some of the depression subreddit stuff, because that'll be interesting. That will be interesting. All right. Hey, this has been great. Been fun. Had some people. That's good. Okay. Thank you.